the fact that, Ben and me, we're both doctors. So we really experienced that patient care in the front line, basically, right? And the thing is that's what's so difficult about these services is a lot of companies and industries treat patients like customers, and they say it's a customer, right? So we had also this discussion in Germany. The patient is not more called the patient, but he's called a customer. But it's not true. A patient is not a customer. A patient is a customer to a certain level and asks for services that he or the insurance is paying for. But in the end, you don't have this real equal customer and supplier relationship, because the patient comes to you with a problem and he would do anything to get help. So you cannot see him like a customer whom you sell something to, but as a patient that relies on that what you do is the best for him without exploiting him. And that's what's such a big challenge in healthcare, because you have to, as Ben correctly said, there is a business behind this, and you have to make this profitable in certain ways, but up to a certain level, because at certain borders cannot be crossed, because then you touch the integrity of a person being a patient and someone who's relying on you from an objective point of view.
Right. So you both mentioned communications, accessibility, and then kind of the place of healthcare in a functioning society. I think that's really the big picture here. I'm glad you touched on all of those things. So let's enter the metaverse now. Let's talk about this. What is a metaverse, and how does that help address some of these problems? Michael, let's start with very, very basics, because I know at least here in the US, we hear a lot about Web3 components. Metaverses are one of them. Can you start at the very beginning, like for somebody who's never heard that term before? What is a metaverse?
Basically, a metaverse is, let's begin very basic. It's basically an additional layer that pops onto the reality that someone experiences. That can be represented via virtual reality, a 3D environment, or augmented reality being popped onto the real world, right? The way we interpret the metaverse for medicine is we create a 3D world that offers a large amount of services and offers for every stakeholder in healthcare. That includes the patient, the families, but it includes also the professional side with doctors, with hospitals, with pharmaceutical companies, with pharmacies, with insurances, with service providers and health tech providers, right? And we bring them together in this unique 3D space. And that is one of the major things in our metaverse is looking really good. So it's not like something that is, these browser-based solutions, but it's a real client-based software that looks like a AAA game, basically. So every one of you who has played something like some 3D games that take place in the 3D world, like Skyrim or GTA, this is what we are orienting on. And we built this 3D world to offer services like, let's begin very basic, advertising for companies, but for patients, we have services like consultations. We have therapies that we offer. We can go into the detail later. We offer education, which is one of the major parts of the metaverse. So we offer virtual university with partner Professor Shafi that is called the Metaversity. Can also go into the detail there. Also, the social aspect is very important because we bring people together. So we develop a complete medical social network that takes place in this space, and it's a secure space. It's a safe spot where you are safe from bullying, where you are safe from false and fake information, where you can rely on the information you get from medical professionals, but where you can be safe without being bullied or without being, exposed for something. So you have a safe space where you can interact with doctors, but also with other patients. Imagine you have a rare disease and you live in Greenland and you don't know anyone because there is no self-help group. Then you can connect in the Aimedis metaverse and meet people that have the same condition from all over the world. And you can meet them in this secure environment, and you can go there anonymously. You can have an avatar that doesn't look like you, or you prefer an avatar that really looks like you. You can even be there with a real name when you trust people. So you can build a complete community inside this. So to sum it up, it is bringing people together on all these levels.
And, as Michael said, actually, it is not very new what we do. We have seen telemedical consultations coming up in the recent years, and we also worked in this space. But this is a step forward because we have more immersiveness. we have this immersive experience that people were looking to have actually when they communicate with others. Still, you can have, a Zoom chat or whatever. It is not the same as moving somewhere, getting, not only, it's just, having these experiences of being inside a complete ecosystem, and your environment reflects somehow the atmosphere that you are looking for. That is the next step. Generally, I think in most of the industries, it's not limited for healthcare. And we just had the idea that it makes a lot of sense to implement it also in healthcare, because healthcare needs it. All industries that rely a lot on information transfer and communication will at a certain point use the metaverse. That's our conviction, and that's why we do it.
Stay tuned for more provocative thinking after the break. Okay, back to the flow.
So to clarify, you mentioned when you're part of this ecosystem, once you're in this metaverse, what does that look like in terms of if somebody wants to be a part of it? You mentioned you create an avatar, and that avatar may or may not look like you. It's up to you. There's some privacy and security features around it, so you can feel like this is a safe space. How does somebody enter the metaverse? They have to sign up for an account, or how does that work?
Yeah, people speak a lot about the metaverse, but in the end, what you build is a computer game. It's a multiplayer online game that has this professional purpose and that has a complete economy inside of it. So we are building a real healthcare economy in this. And the entry is super simple. People that are already registered with the Aimedis platform can use their login they have from the Aimedis platform to enter the metaverse and then generate their avatar and set up everything and do the settings for their device. So the software is a client-based system, as I told you. So it's not something that you stream, but you have to download a client, have to install it either on a smartphone, a tablet, or a PC. And we support everything from an Android phone up to a RTX-based computer with the latest graphics card and high-performance CPU. And then you generate an account, and then you can select a server that you join. So we basically built it like a 3D shooter game, but not. It's for sure it's not a shooter. But the people who know these client-based multiplayer online games, they know how this works. And there are these servers that people can join, and the world is basically built like the real world. So we have different continents, different cities with different maps and institutions, and people can join them and can get the services that they like. They can flawlessly move between these areas, so they can travel around the world. They can beam into every map, and they can move around freely and explore this world. They can search for dedicated services. So when they just want to focus on something, they can do that, but they can also just go around and explore things and offers. And so they have a very, very broad range of possibilities there. It's also a little bit like an adventure. And we're not only focusing on the medical services, on the serious part, we also implement medical gaming aspects for children, for example, very important to take away fear from certain things like an MRI examination or a medical treatment that unfortunately also kids undergo from time to time. And also there is a cultural and artistic aspect in this world, because let's imagine you're traveling to a country in Africa, and we have had fantastic talks to people from Africa where we said, okay, in some areas we will highlight certain artistic pieces, for example, from ancient tribes, for example, and people can learn about the history of that country and can basically visit a virtual museum. So we have something that is called the Aimedis Virtual Museum of Medical and Scientific Art, and people can go there and they can take a look at the country typical things and learn something about this also related to health, right? And then they can go and get some services. So it will be a real adventure, and it has this feeling of a triple